Claire, thank you so much for joining us on the Midlands Mentors. I want to start, as we always do, with your journey. You did your traineeship to begin.
Yeah.
But then very quickly that moved into your first role.
Yeah. Completely.
With Seraph.
Yeah.
Doing email marketing.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And now you're the marketing director at Oakbrook.
Yeah.
So talk to us about
journey.
talk to us about it.
Yes. So I guess even when I started my first role at Seraph, I didn't ever think, I didn't grow up and think, marketing is the thing for me.
Yeah.
I think what kind of got me in and hooked was from the very early days at Seraph, we were really into kind of testing, learning, iterating. And the thing for me in a digital marketing was kind of, it was there, but it wasn't kind of widely adopted.
Yes.
So we were moving from the world of direct mail,
Of course,
into email, and just the speed of having that data on email versus DM, it was amazing. Like you could think, right, I'm going to try this new subject line, push it out, and within hours how it's going to do. So that was very much the early days, kind of hands-on campaign delivery, test and learn, trying all the tricks that, kind of still help me out today, actually. I think what's followed through as a theme, though, is that curiosity and that willingness to go kind of cross-functional.
Sure.
It's always been for me that marketing can't exist on its own. It can't exist by itself. You need to know what product's doing.
Of course.
You need to know what tech's doing. Here, we need to be really close with compliance. We need to be super close with credit risk, and just almost having that kind of cross-functional view helped me in the early days, and it still continues to help me now. I think the difference for me now is for me personally, and what I'm trying to drive through my team is, we're moving from owning just the campaigns to the outcomes.
Sure.
Particularly now for our target customer who are kind of underserved. They don't often have a real choice of financial services products.
Yes.
So actually, how are we understanding them and being relentless over that? And what outcomes are we driving? It's more than just, do we give a loan offer? It's, okay, do we give them a loan offer? Is it the right product for them? How are they using it? Do they understand it?
Yes, exactly.
And it's just having more of a kind of holistic view rather than a purely transactional one.
It's a much more ethical approach as well, right? There's obviously the stigma sometimes around, consumer lending.
Yeah.
There can be stigma around it, right? Yeah. But here at Oakbrook, you clearly have that ethical approach with the customer in mind, which is fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to me about, though, going from... Well, I know Seraph now.
Yeah.
And for those of, some of our people listening may not know of Seraph, but Seraph has obviously created a number of different products, software products, but a few of our more creatively minded people might know the affinity products.
Yes.
And then obviously in recent years, they've been bought out by a little name called Canva, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What was it like working for there when you were going through that journey at Seraph? And that was at an incredible time in their
completely.
history.
So it was very much like a startup. We had we obviously had targets and things, but it was a lot about experimentation. Which was great to kind of be in, to kind of work in. It was kind of having that autonomy to test things, to understand what worked. In terms of, feedback loops were really important. So kind of what we were seeing worked well on the marketing side, we could then feed back to product.
Yeah.
Or product could be like, hey, we're thinking about shipping this new feature. Do you think that's going to land well? And we were like, well, we could just test it, right? We can just... And I think having that, I guess... There was no kind of hierarchical structures. There was no kind of I guess, teams with big egos and things like that. So it just made it a great place to create, to learn, for me to craft my, to kind of hone your craft essentially, and kind of build that knowledge of fundamentally what works in a kind of B2C environment. What are the things, whatever industry you work in, do you need to make sure that are in place? And I left Serif just at the beginning of the affinity kind of development.
Yes.
And you could just tell at the time, it's like, this is going to be a game changer, both for Serif and also for kind of end users. And we always had those end users as designers, but not those that were in big agencies that had big budgets for Photoshop and Adobe products.
It was almost like, as the rise of the we call them creators now, right? The rise of the creator.
Yeah, for sure. So it was great, and it was also great being in the same place as, because when I first started, they had physical product.
Yes, of course.
They shipped product.
Yes.
And when we do a campaign, the best thing that would happen is the warehouse kind of guys would come upstairs and go, Claire, it's gone nuts. We can't ship the orders. And it's like, oh, do you want us to come and help pack? Like, it was just that kind of environment, and it was brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. And it's you mentioned something there which I find not surprising, in that you were saying that there was no egos, and that's just typical of the Midlands region and businesses. People working up here, there are no egos, right? And that really does. It fosters collaboration, it fosters growth, support, which in the world of mental health we are now, there's so much importance around that. And I found that a really, really interesting point.
Yeah. And I think the other thing on that, Tim, is there's no egos, and there's also not those kind of fixed barriers, like particularly at Oakbrook. As soon as I started, I could go and sit in the product team meetings.
Wow.
I can go and sit with credit. Our CEO sits on the same floor as we do. Anybody can go and say to him, I don't understand this thing, can you explain it? And I think, again, for Midlands-based businesses, it's such an advantage for people to be able to get that whole business view.
Of course.
Rather than just going, oh, well, I need to get X many clicks at this cost and I've done my job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay, well, I'm getting those clicks, but then how is that impacting the full business, and what results is that?
And that builds
driving?
culture.
Completely.
That builds culture, it builds buy-in, it builds connection.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit of a shared sense of worth, right? When things progress and things go well.
Yeah, that's great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And you can see, we always do, kind of pulse surveys with our colleagues, and it's like, oh, what motivates you? And yes, to a degree, it's money, it's recognition, but it's that sense of achievement and moving forwards, and if you can create that, I think, you're nearly all of the way there. I think the other thing that is really evident within Oakbrook, and what we try and encourage as a senior team, is that it's okay to try stuff that doesn't work.
Wow.
So no one gets in trouble if something goes wrong. We're like, great, we've spotted it.
Yeah.
But what are we going to do differently next time?
Exactly. How are we going to adapt?
Yeah.
What are the
completely.
changes?
Yeah. And I think when you're thinking about how you build your team, how you motivate your team, you've got to have that sense of space for people to do that. Otherwise, how are you going to learn anything?
No, exactly. Exactly right. And it leads me actually on to what my next question was going to be. But originally I was going to ask, my next question was going to be around, how did you make that jump from what was a very creative-led business, software business still, to financial services? But then the more I've done research about Oakbrook and how you guys are building technology, you're building data, you're building analytics, which is then benefiting the end consumer.
Yeah.
It was actually, I could see the connection of the jump.
Yeah, it was. So when I came to Oakbrook, I thought, right, okay. I think I was lucky in the Midlands because the fintech ecosystem is good.
Yes.
There's a few different businesses here. But I thought, okay, I want another challenge, and the challenge for me was both in the acquisition model. So I'd been really used to being able to run a really good campaign, know what price I get my leads in, and know the conversion rate, and therefore know what revenue I make. Great, done. However, the kind of funnel here is completely different. You can obviously get leads in at the top, but then do they get an offer for a product? If you give them an offer, is that the right offer that they're actually going to choose to take up, and take the loan? And then once they've taken the loan, do they pay back as expected?
Exactly.
And it was, for me, it was kind of like, okay, how do I really test myself in that environment? Combined with, as you say, Oakbrook's kind of willingness to innovate, to create, to not be kind of a really big corporate financial services legacy brand, because that wouldn't have been for me. I think, I would have been like, well, I'm going from somewhere where I've been allowed to kind of test, learn, create. I wanted that here as well, and I've absolutely had that. And I think, again, it's kind of testament to the people that own us. So they're kind of relentless in their focus to like continually test, continually experiment. What tech, how can we use tech to speed things up? How can we use tech to give better decisions, better outcomes? How are we building best-in-class product journeys? And it's kind of having the freedom to do that, but also the challenge as well. That kind of motivates you and drives you.
No, completely.
Yeah.
And recently, last few months, the promotion to marketing director. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
It was actually what got you on my radar, because I saw it pop up on LinkedIn, and I said, wow, that went through your career, and I've gone, wow, look at Sarah, grown through the business.
Yeah.
Same here, grown through the business, which has been incredible. Professionally, personally, what did that promotion mean? Because it's, getting that title.
Yeah. So, no, thanks, Tim. And like I said, appreciate you reaching out. So, so I think obviously huge sense of pride, but also that comes with responsibility.
Of course. Absolutely.
Like, how do I keep going? How do I keep getting products out there for customers that need it? Different products, new products that really make a difference. How are we reaching different types of customers that maybe don't even know we exist, don't even know that we potentially have a solution to their problem? So it was kind of thinking about that. I think it's kind of recognition for kind of a lot of small wins over the time, rather than just one big slam dunk. It's great. So that was
almost makes it a bit better, right? That almost makes it even more worthwhile, that journey worthwhile, right? When it's little things that just add up over time, that build that credibility, build that internal respect.
Yeah. And I think my time at Oakbrook has probably been, we've seen some of the hardest economic challenges, right? We had COVID, and for lenders, COVID was so hard. So we used credit bureau data to make a decision, which is typically 3 months old. So when people started losing their income in COVID, they were either furloughed or lost their jobs. We had no idea about that. So it's kind of, okay, how do you pivot? Right, well, what are the other data sources out there we can use? We can use open banking data. But again, you need to build that. You need to, that was really difficult. So lockdown was and COVID was really difficult. Then obviously we had the trust budget. Interest rates rise. Obviously, as a business really sensitive to interest rates, we're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. I can imagine.
And then on the other side of that, for our customers, we know that they're being squeezed with cost of living more than ever before.
Of course.
So a loan that may have been affordable for them 6 months ago, how do we make sure that if they are kind of starting to struggle or they're having extra expenses, that they know the kind of support channels that are available to them? So yeah, it's been a journey. Like, I've loved it and I still love it, but it's also been super difficult. But I guess that's when you learn the most, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And the growth that you get through the difficult times, we were in the recruitment industry, particularly through COVID, and that first 6 months through COVID was just bleak. if you got your hands on a new vacancy, if a client came to you with a new job,
bet you were like,
you're like,
wow.
what?
Yeah.
You almost wanted to question them. Like, do you really need this? You've just met 100 people on first. Like, do you need this person?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a wild time for us as well. And I get it, right? But I think the resilience it built for us during that period was huge, right?
For sure.
And also, I think it taught you something about building relationships. That your interpersonal skills, your personal skills with people really had to, because you were doing it online. You weren't doing it, you were doing it over.
And that's the other thing, Tim, complete shift in way of working.
Of course.
And I remember just before lockdown, we were going to do a practice working from home run. So we were like, right, you this half of the office, you do it tomorrow, and then we'll do it on whatever. And the first group did it. We never came back. We were just like,
yeah, we can do this. This works.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy times.
Well, I know for my business, I think at the time, pre-COVID, obviously we were 5 days a week in the office. And then we went into COVID. All of a sudden we had to go, we were like, well, we need to get everyone laptops. Like there was a hardware issue straight away.
Yeah.
Talking about hardware, but talking about technical. I love here your role, because you sort of are in that almost like intersection between the technical development, the marketing, working with agencies. Yeah. You've got that sort of almost like multi-layer relationship that you have to develop and own. I guess what makes it, what does success look like? With those multi-layer relationships where you're juggling innovation, demands from the technical side of the business.
Yeah.
You're making some, you've got the innovation you want to do within marketing.
Yeah.
But then you've got obviously potential agencies or third parties. What makes that relationship work well, and what tends, I guess, to break it?
Yeah, sure. So I think whatever it is we're doing, whether it's a massive new platform migration, whatever, or whether it's just like testing a field on the app form, I think I'll always start with a shared outcome. So is this going to make a difference for either our customers, for our internal team? And that's the purpose of why we're doing this. You have to make the goal outcome led. Like, it can't be like, oh, tech, you need to deliver this in less than 5 story points in the sprint. But marketing, you need to do it to increase. It's all around what's that end goal, and are we all and do we all share that, and do we all understand it from the start? I think that's key. I think when you talk about kind of external teams, so we have a large part of our team that work from Mumbai in India.
Sure.
And we've done a lot. We had an OKR last year, and we branded it One Team. And it's all around just working with them as an extension of and agencies is the same, as an extension of your team. You have the same check-ins as you would with somebody who's in Nottingham. You have the same kind of review structure. You have the same kind of openness. You have to probably work a lot harder to make sure that the information gets indicated, and making sure that they feel able to be heard. So I think it's all about having that open communication, the shared outcome, but also letting them know that they've got the space to come to you and go, look, this isn't working, or I've got a problem, or no, it's not going to work, or it's going to be late, whatever. I think the feedback loops are also key. So what we're really keen on here is whatever the thing it is we're working on, afterwards, did it do what we said it was going to do? If it didn't, that's okay.
Yeah.
But therefore, what are we going to do differently next time? I think that's really key. Where I've seen it go a bit wrong is probably like we said about maybe some of the big London firms, where people are just so focused on their own departmental KPIs, goals, and everybody's just working in a silo. They don't talk to each other. There's maybe a lack of kind of joint focus.
It's the scourge of any business, right? When it gets siloed, when people are so insular in focus.
Yeah. And almost they can't see the bigger picture, and it's probably through no fault of their own.
No,
it's because that's all they're allowed to do and learn. But I think being here, smaller, being in, Midlands based, it just, we don't have to be like that.
No.
So we shouldn't. And I think the other thing is, Tim, we shouldn't build and aim for perfection, because,
such a good point.
Can you ship stuff that's 80% there or good enough without spending another month to get it? And I think that's what we're really keen on doing here as well. It's like, well, actually, could you speed this up if you got it nearly all the way there? And in certain instances, no, it's not. It has to be, in a regulated environment, there are things that you have to get absolutely spot on, of course. But when we're talking about, tests, experiments, can you ship an MVP rather than, product with full bells and whistles, for example?
Yeah, no, completely.
Yeah.
Thinking about then budgetary restraints.
Yeah.
Always the fun thing as senior marketeers we have to look at. Thinking about your responsibility, obviously it's grown as your career's grown, your responsibility's grown, job title's grown. When you've got to make the tough calls about where to invest and where to, I guess, pull back, how do you manage that process? How do you find get to the point where you find that outcome?
So you've already touched on, Tim, like what sort of a business we are, and we are obsessed with data, right? Like we've got more data than we need. We've got so many different Power BIs and different templates, and now with AI, we've got it in a way where I can just type in, can you tell me how many customers were on the website yesterday? How much access there is. But for me, it has got to always come back to the data. I think particularly as marketers, you can kind of get, you can kind of let yourself go with, that campaign, the creative for that doesn't look right. Well, why doesn't it look right? I just don't, no, change it. But actually, we could just split test that and we'd know straight away, right?
Yep.
And I think you've got to be really disciplined in how you set your data up in terms of what's available, in terms of being really focused on what matters and not looking to the nth degree on 20 different metrics. So I say to my team every week, we meet on a Friday and we say, okay, when we're looking at email performance, we'll go, how many emails did we send? How many opens did we get? How many clicks? How did that change versus last week, last month? What's unexpected? Nothing. Great. Well, it's working. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Or if the team comes and says, oh, actually the click rate dropped. Well, why did it drop?
Yeah.
And I think having that discipline, then when you do launch a new campaign that's maybe with a larger budget, so we're about to launch one for Oakbrook One, our debt consolidation loan, we have really strict stage gates.
Okay.
So we allow enough budget to get the learnings, to get enough data through. But what we will say is, well, after, say, a week, if on a particular campaign we've had, we've had no engagement and we've had no applications, we kill that. And we put the money to ones that are working. And I think it's just having that, again, coming back to, you've got to give the team the chance to test, but you also need to be kind of give them guidelines on, well, okay, you can't just test for testing's sake. We've got to be rigorous around what we're doing. We agree the KPIs at the start of the campaign. We agree the stage gates and where we're going to kill, where we're going to continue. And I think ultimately we have got to prioritise budget on initiatives that are helping our end customers.
Yeah.
So I'll keep coming back to the underserved, because they are our customers. And if we're not there providing them with information that they need or products, they don't have any other choice. And that's a really bad place for them to be in. So coming back to that kind of responsibility for me of getting this right, we have got to get this right, because we're small, right? We don't have huge marketing budgets, and so therefore we have to be really efficient with the ones that we do have.
Absolutely.
And you've got to link it back to data for sure.
No, for sure. Touching then on the team, you mentioned the team there.
Yeah.
You are in a position now where you're in charge of performance with regards to the team.
Yeah.
building culture within the team, building high performance. You know, the big almost buzzword across all industries right now, particularly in white collar sectors, is building that culture of high performance within the team.
Yeah.
What is it that you do or have focused on over the last few years on getting the best out of people, and particularly people with different specialisms, right? We know that you've covered digital marketing, brand, email, content, social, customer research. You've obviously connecting with the data side as well. So very different backgrounds of people, personalities. How do you drive that?
So I think it starts with hiring, Tim, in that, you know, people that I look for in my team might not be an absolute nailed on specialist in SEO or digital or paid social or whatever, but can they think, you know, how critical are they with their thinking? How adaptable are they to change? Because I think that's the thing that I would take away most from the last 10 years is that things are moving, I mean, now so quickly.
Scary.
So if you come in and think, I'm going to be doing it this way for the next 5 years, you're absolutely wrong. And if you're not willing to adapt, then it's not going to work. So I think you have to look at that kind of willingness and that ability to think wider from the team to start with. I think also I really look for diversity, and that doesn't necessarily mean in terms of cultures. It could mean in terms of skills. You know, an analyst has a very different view and a skill set to a content writer, to a partnerships manager, for example. But I don't want a team of typical creative marketing types, right? Because we'll all just sit there and agree with each other, go, oh yeah, that new ad looks brilliant. Whereas the analyst in the room, because they think differently, might go, well, hang on, I don't understand that. Or a real great example is we thought we'd done a really good job and we built this new loan calculator. And the analyst went, well, I can put in a higher loan amount in that than we offer. And we were like, oh, yeah. So just having that, the different people in a team to give that kind of healthy challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is really important. So I think that's kind of hiring what I look for in teams. I think how you drive that performance is being really clear on strategy, on the why, giving them as much or as little information as they want. You know, some people will want every single detail and every single number, others don't. And you've got to know, you know, what people need in terms of their own ways they work, but then allowing them the autonomy to go and do it. And, you know, I'm not the expert. I'm not going to prescribe how they get the things done.
Yes.
I just want them to go away. They know the strategy that we're aiming for. They know the overall business goals. How are they going to go away and make that happen? I think we used the OKR example earlier. So we set business level OKRs and then we cascade them. I always ask my team to write their own OKRs, you know, and that gives them a sense of real ownership. They buy in, and ultimately they can see what they're doing, how what they're doing is making a difference to the overall business. And I found that works really well. I think it's so important to encourage that growth mindset, you know, or high agency as it's sometimes referred to. And I think coming back to the space to fail as well.
Yeah.
You can't expect people to keep pushing and trying things if when they get things wrong, you're like,
they're getting beasted.
Exactly.
You know, that's not good. Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of how I approach teams. And I think what I've learned over the years is kind of what works best.
No, absolutely. You've touched on it earlier in terms of the AI and you mentioned something there which is really, I think, poignant in terms of what we're about to talk about, in terms of things are changing almost on a daily basis. You know, our access, you mentioned access to data as well before, and how easy it is for you to pull up metrics now. AI, automation, you know, I think, and you know, look, a lot of the AI we have right now is process automation, right? And data automation. But we do have probably true AI on the distant horizon. We've got quantum computing on the not too distant horizon. How do you decide for you and your team what is worth experimenting with? What's a distraction? Because there is tools, I found it in my day, which are a giant distraction.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard because you don't know. Of all the new stuff that keeps coming out, like you say, daily, you don't know which one will be the next big thing that changes your life. So you almost have to go on that journey, don't you, of trial and error. But I think ultimately for me is it helping our learning or is it not?
Yes.
And if it's not, then just stop using it. You know, and I think at Oakbrook in particular, we have, a real sense of, we call ourselves AI first. A lot of the things we do, like you say, the operations team have used it massively in automation. The credit team use it to help them, build their models. The tech team are using it to accelerate build time. And I think in marketing in particular, I think maybe 6 months ago, there was the thought of, well, everyone can be a marketer now because ChatGPT can write your copy. And I think it's true to a point. Everyone can't be a marketer, but it's lowered the barrier to entry for sure. But I think what our skill as marketers is, as good marketers is, ChatGPT can write you copy, but you've still got to know that copy is going to resonate with your customers.
Exactly.
And I think you've still got to...
You have to know your customer.
You've got to know your customer. You've got to come back to what problem are we solving? Is this helping? Or is it just kind of ChatGPT garble based on the last few prompts that you fed him? But I think we don't use it in marketing as our strategy, but we use it where we can as a multiplier. I think the thing that's blown my mind the most, probably in the last week, is the Claude code. So, like, I'm not technical, but we had a demo, and basically, how. Well, this is how we work. So say if I wanted a change to one of my web pages, I'd have to put a ticket into dev.
Yep.
They would need to pick it up, prioritise it, do it. And, when it's loads of little changes, they probably don't get done right. Claude, what it can do now is I would write the ticket, but then it takes the ticket, it does the work, and then it publishes it onto your dev site for a human to go, is this right or not? Yeah,
it's an incredible piece of technology.
So we basically made our 6-page application form into 2 pages in about 3 minutes. And I'm like, for us as a team, this is transformational.
Oh, absolutely.
Just in terms of that opportunity to test, to build campaigns, and just give customers custom landing pages. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
This is a game changer.
Completely. As an ex-content manager of about 7 years, someone who managed WordPress, I think, in its infancy.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I can definitely resonate with that, and trying to build content pages, then they fail.
Yeah.
Then your SEO was garbage. Then you wouldn't show up on Google. If you didn't show up on Google, you were nowhere at that time. Yeah. I'm constantly fascinated by the advances that we're seeing and getting. I also think as well, and I'd love to get your view on this, there has to be governance around it. There is so much risk now. I think there's never been more risk, particularly almost for marketeers, because they are trying to innovate. They're trialing and erroring. They are looking at new ways of trying to build out their, idea generation.
Yeah.
But they're also pumping loads of data into these open AI platforms. Sometimes it's through corporate accounts. Sometimes it's not. It's quite scary.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think as well for us at Oakbrook, we're also regulated.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely, you're right in that so as a business, we have our kind of IT security team are really hot on what user access levels we can have and how much information we can put in. So for example, I don't have access to customer data because I don't need it, so therefore I can't put that in. But then any sensitive, maybe kind of company IP or product strategy, we have like our own, I don't know what you'd call it, but our own area where that goes in, and it's not then syndicated then up to the main frame. In terms of though what we get out and what we publish, we depending on the so we have a policy. So depending on the level of change. So if it is tweaks to, say, an existing landing page that has previously been signed off, so long as it uses our kind of GPT checklist that we use like a compliance bot, if you like, we're okay with it. However, nothing new will be shipped without a human review, because at the moment we just don't know. Like sometimes it will get it spot on and you're like, I couldn't have done that better myself. Other times it will, like, what do they call it? Hallucinate. And we'll say to it, well, where have you got this from? And it'll go, I'm sorry, I don't know, I've got that wrong. You know, so and it's constant. You know, I've been on a couple of panels with the FLA, kind of like a governance body, and nobody's nailed it. No, I don't think.
No.
You know,
the technology gets better every day, and you know, the advancements are so quick, and you know what you could do on ChatGPT 6 months ago is completely different than what you can do now. And I just find it is real. But I go back to the pressure it puts on marketeers who are being pressured to innovate quickly, even more quicker. There's stress there, right?
Yeah, completely. And I think, we've just got, as marketeers, we've just got to be all over the discipline around it and having the frameworks around how we use it and what we're prepared to both share and also ship.
Of course.
You know, I think, and like I say, I've not seen anybody that's gone, we're 100% happy that we're using it in the right way. And I think it just presents new, maybe bigger risks for us as a business in terms of, you know, security, cyber, you know, it just amplifies it, doesn't it? Particularly as, you know, we could make a bot that acts as us. We know as humans we would do things in a particular way. You don't know that your bot will do you know what I mean? It just creates this extra level of risk, and I think it's a massive headache for our kind of internal risk team, our SecOps team. You know, it's becoming a full-time job, just policing kind of what people are downloading, what they're using, what, you know.
It's so hard, but I think it's going to be something that you just have to be omnipresent about, that you have to just continually focus on and talk about.
Yes.
Like I think the companies that I've seen that have fallen into pitfalls, they put out a policy, they don't talk about it, they don't reconnect on it, they don't have the constant discussions around it, they don't mention, hey, you might have seen this new feature on ChatGPT, just be careful with that. You know, it's the dialogue, you know, the constant dialogue.
Yeah, completely.
You were a young marketeer in the Midlands.
Yes.
I love to ask this question in these conversations, but you were a young marketeer in the Midlands, specifically here for the most part in Nottingham as well. What opportunities do you see existing here versus some of the bigger hubs? Like we were talking offline before about, you know, the Londons, the Manchesters, but what do you see as maybe more opportunity that creates more opportunity for those maybe young grads, or, you know, young apprentices, might have finished as a traineeship or apprenticeship that there is here?
Okay. So I think we've just obviously spoken a lot about AI, but I think AI for young marketeers levels the playing field. You know, you don't now need big London style budget to succeed in this world at all. So I think that's a massive plus, and people should be kind of using that to their advantage as much as they can. I think in terms of the culture here in the Midlands, like I said, it's not as big, it's not as corporate. You can go and get involved, and you can potentially learn how a business works rather than how a marketing function works.
Such a good point.
And that will make you so much better in your role if you understand, well, customer first, but also the impact that you're having to the wider business.
Absolutely.
and I think in a lot of London, Manchester roles, I just don't think you will get that. I think the other thing here is network, right?
Of course.
I know you're looking to build your network,
Absolutely.
Tim, but in terms of fintech, for sure, SaaS, I think is pretty big in the Midlands, which is great. And I think
engineering, defence, there's loads. It's one of the things that's blown my mind is the variety of sectors up here.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I think you'll also get more responsibility faster.
Of course.
Right? Because there's less competition, smaller teams work closer together. If it was, say, my daughter that was starting in this industry right now, and she's like, "Shall I move to London?" I'd be like, "No, don't." Like, why go and put yourself in loads of debt to get a
couldn't agree more
bed sit?
Yeah.
Share. It's I think it's a great opportunity for people in the area.
I've spent 10 years in London.
Yeah.
But I've spent 6 months in the Midlands, and I've learned probably more in the last 6 months than I did in 5 years in London. And
that's amazing.
And that's from being able to, I think you touched on it before, the networking and access that you get up here.
Yeah.
People will give you their time.
Yes,
people will
completely.
have a coffee with you.
Yeah.
People, because there is a shared, I think, desire to grow, to get better.
Yeah.
There's a real culture of that.
Yes.
There's a real culture that people want to learn. They want to learn from each other.
Yeah.
They also want to connect. They want to be able to help each other.
Yeah.
Because I think there is that mindset that, look, I might be helping you today, but in 5 years you might be helping me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's that real mindset.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, I hadn't thought about that before, actually. But yeah, you completely spot on there, Tim.
What have you? There was a couple of points that you raised there, which I find really interesting, which may answer this next question. But you touched on smaller teams, which I think, and gaining more responsibility. But when it comes to obviously everything's digital first now.
Yeah.
We say digital and marketing separate, but they are one and the same, right?
Yeah.
It is one now, and I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
But where do you think teams, from what you've seen, where do you think they could push further? Like, what are some of the areas that you think that they could go into that might help them expand, grow, develop, do even better than what they're doing?
Yeah. I think maybe we need to just shout about it more.
I agree.
And what you're doing with this series is great, but I think it's I think also here there's a culture of being quite humble and almost say, well, we come in, we do our jobs, and that's it. It's like, no, we're doing great jobs.
Yeah.
We're building some great stuff.
Absolutely.
Building great companies, great teams, great cultures. It's like, we should be shouting about that.
I completely agree. And I see that being a real almost divide, particularly when, I use LinkedIn every day, as most people probably will have their doom scroll on the way home from work on LinkedIn. Not if you're driving, of course. If you're driving, I hope you're not. But, people obviously going on LinkedIn, I have seen a real marked change from firms in London across all sectors of using LinkedIn as almost a way of growing the employer brand and growing their brand online from perspective of certainly potential new hires and whatnot, and being able to show off the culture within the business.
Yeah.
And I think you can be humble, particularly here in the Midlands. I think you're right. There's a great culture, and I think it's a positive that there's a culture of humbleness. But I think you can be humble, but also talk about the amazing things you're doing.
Yeah.
That you can do both.
Yeah. I know, and I think we absolutely need to strike that balance, because we've got the opportunity now. I think we've almost earned the right.
Yeah.
To
completely.
Do that. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Marketing in 2026, it's going to change a lot. What do you think we will be hearing a lot more about that's not being spoken about right now?
It's hard, because like you say, it moves so fast. I think maybe the concept of moving from a marketing department to marketing capability.
Yeah,
how
I love that.
Shared across the business, because like we've said, everyone can be a marketer. But, if with AI now, if somebody in operations, for example, our operations team, wants to craft an email because they think they can do a better job than the copywriter, great. You do that and bring it. If product think, well, I've listened to this customer research and I think this would be the best way to approach this. Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's and that's what I'm trying to say to my team. It's how are we getting in amongst the other teams, and also how are we encouraging that feedback as well. I think that's one. I think it's moving to this kind of, it probably already has, but moving from this big bang campaign theory to just continuous optimization.
Yeah.
Like we're always on.
Yep.
We're always testing. We're making small incremental changes rather than, again, waiting until we've got the perfect creative and the perfect copy to launch. We're just always on, and we're just evolving. And I think ultimately, Tim, and maybe people might not like this, but it's not about now who does the best job of selling themselves or their brand. It's who's learning the fastest.
I couldn't agree more.
Who's closest to the customer, he's learning and he's leveraging all of the things that we have around us now the best.
There's so many good takeaways there. That last point, I couldn't agree with it more. I also love what you said around, well, can we get other departments involved in what we're doing?
Yeah.
And I always look to the Curry's PC World example of getting their retail staff to do their social media.
Yeah.
Like the game changer, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who came up with that concept, but it's worked.
Yeah.
And there's a real buy-in from their retail staff to want to get involved in that, to be a bit edgy, to be creative.
Yeah.
And it's working. Like you look at their TikTok views and they're insane.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's creating more awareness of the brand. It's getting the brand out there.
It's relatable, right?
It's relatable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fabulous point. It's a really good one to touch on. Claire, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to watching the evolution of Oakbrook. I think you guys are doing amazing work. It's ethical work in an area of, that can be sometimes described as not ethical. You guys are at that really nice point of using technology to be more ethical and to make better decisions and to ultimately help people who are in a bit of a sticky situation, but then make the right decision when they're in that situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Do the best thing for them at that time, and hopefully that for future them is the right thing to do.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Claire, thank you.
Thank you.